This video is about the janitor cried at work until a rich lady stopped his car. If this story inspires you, please like the video, share it with loved ones, and write in the comments how it touched your heart. Asterisk asterisk, the janitor cried at work until a rich lady stopped his car. Part 1 asterisk asterisk. In the heart of a bustling city, where skyscrapers pierced the sky and dreams were chased with fervor, there existed a building that held stories within its walls. It was a tall, glass structure, a monument to ambition, housing lawyers, tech geniuses, and finance moguls. Yet, among the suits and polished shoes, there was a man named Victor who occupied a less glamorous role. He was the janitor. Victor had been cleaning the building for over a decade. He had seen the ebb and flow of lives, employees celebrating promotions, couples arguing, and the frazzled parents running to catch a bus. With a mop in hand and a heart full of stories untold, he was part of the backdrop that most people overlooked. Every morning, Victor arrived before dawn, the world still wrapped in a quiet slumber. He would unlock the heavy glass doors and step into the cool, quiet air of the lobby. The vast space echoed with the soft hum of the ventilation system, and the first rays of sunlight danced through the windows, creating a golden hue. He loved this time. It was when he felt most connected to the building. But as the day unfolded, so did a different chapter. The hustle began, and Victor felt diminished amidst the whirlwind of life. The laughter and chatter from the offices above, while vibrant, served as a reminder of his own solitude. As he cleaned the floors, he often glanced up to see colleagues sharing coffee, the camaraderie warm and inviting. "Hey, Victor, got those floors shining like glass today?" But one of the attorneys would call out, tossing a half-smile in his direction. Victor would nod, a faint smile tugging at his lips, but he wished for more than just polite exchanges. He longed for connection, for someone to truly see him. Beneath the surface, Victor battled his own tides of despair. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years, and the loneliness crept deeper into his soul. After losing his wife, Clara, to illness 5 years prior, he had become a ghost of the man he once was. The laughter they once shared was replaced by silence, the dreams left unfulfilled. He poured everything he had into his work, but it felt like an escape rather than a purpose. One rainy afternoon, while scrubbing the cafeteria floor, Victor found himself overwhelmed by the weight of sorrow. Tears began to fall, hot and unbidden, as he recalled the warmth of Clara's hand in his. He wiped his eyes hastily with his sleeve, embarrassed at being caught in such a moment of vulnerability. Just then, the sound of heels clicking against the tiles broke the silence. "Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to intrude," a voice chimed. Victor looked up to meet the gaze of a woman in an elegant tailored suit, her handbag perched stylishly on his shoulder. She wore an expression of genuine concern. "It is all right," he replied, his voice a mere whisper heavy with grief. "I know this sounds odd, but are you okay?" She stepped closer, her kindness a stark contrast to the hurried world around them. Victor hesitated. He had grown accustomed to hiding his pain, but there was something in her eyes, a warmth that felt inviting. "It's just a tough day," he finally admitted, an unexpected ache in his throat. "Some days are harder than others. Would you like to share?" she prompted gently. He felt the dam of his emotions begin to crack. He spoke, recounting snippets of his life, mentioning Clara, the love they shared, and how her absence had hollowed him. The woman listened intently, her expression unwavering, as if she understood every word that spilled from him. "My name is Lena," she introduced herself, nodding as he spoke. "And I believe we all have stories that deserve to be heard." Victor was taken aback by her sincerity. He had always shrouded himself in invisibility, thinking his life was too mundane to merit attention. But here was Lena, a stranger, giving him a moment of her time. As the conversation flowed, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't seen in years' hope. She was different, not just another person in a hurry. Her presence made him realize how hungry he was for connection, for understanding. After a while, the cafeteria buzzed with workers arriving for lunch. Lena stood to leave but paused. "Victor, would you like to grab coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more about you." Her invitation took him by surprise. Could he really step outside the confines of his everyday existence? He nodded slowly. "I'd like that very much." As she walked away, a sense of lightness settled in Victor's heart. For the first time in years, he felt seen. That evening, he went home and cleared the clutter from the small kitchen table. It had been a while since he felt the urge to create a space for someone else. Days passed, and he found himself counting down to their coffee date. When the day finally arrived, he was both anxious and excited. He wore his best shirt, a faded blue that Clara had loved, hoping it would impress Alina. They met at a local cafe, the air filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and pastries. Alina arrived, her smile radiant, and as they talked, Victor found himself sharing more than he ever thought possible. They spoke about life, dreams, and the beauty of resilience in the face of adversity. Their encounters became the highlight of Victor's weeks. Slowly, he began to recognize the seeds of joy sprouting within him. Alina encouraged him to pursue hobbies he'd abandoned, like painting and storytelling. She'd introduce him to new people, weaving him into a tapestry of life he had thought was lost forever. But Victor still battled shadows of doubt. At times, he'd pull back, afraid of letting someone in so deeply again. He feared that allowing himself to be vulnerable meant risking the pain of loss once more. One evening, sitting on a park bench, he confided in Alina, "What if I lose it all again? The hurt is unbearable." Alina listened carefully before responding. "Victor, life is a series of moments, sometimes painful, sometimes beautiful, but each moment teaches us resilience. You have the strength to face whatever comes next." Her words hung in the air, and Victor let them sink in. He realized that life was not merely about avoiding pain, it was about embracing joy as well. As the seasons changed, Victor began to blossom under Alina's friendship. He enrolled in a local art class, rediscovering a passion for painting. Each brushstroke felt liberating, a release of the pent-up emotions he had carried for so long. The colors he used were vibrant, a reflection of his healing spirit. Every day at work, he approached his tasks with newfound vigor. He engaged more with colleagues, sharing laughter and stories. He felt a sense of belonging, a realization that he was not merely a janitor, but a vital part of the community. But life, as it often does, threw a curveball Victor's way. One morning, he received a call from the hospital about a health issue he had been avoiding for months. Heart pounding, he sat down, the familiar dread creeping back in. Would he lose everything again? Victor stared at the wall, feeling the weight of dread settle in his chest. But then he remembered Alina's words about resilience. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, channeling the strength he had been cultivating. As he prepared for the appointment, he reached out to Alina, who showed up at his side, unwavering. "You are not alone in this, Victor. We'll all face it together." In that moment, Victor felt the warmth of connection pulse through him. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a man surrounded by love, facing challenges head-on. With Alina by his side, he stepped into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever came next. The journey ahead may be daunting, but Victor now understood that every tear he had shed, every battle he had fought, had led him here. A new chapter awaited, one that held the promise of healing, connection, and a future filled with possibility. Little did he know, the storm he was about to face would teach him more about resilience, inner strength, and the beauty of the human spirit than he had ever imagined. Because sometimes, all it takes is a stranger stopping your car to ignite a journey of hope. Asterisk, the janitor cried at work until a rich lady stopped his car. Part 2, asterisk. Victor sat in the waiting room, anxiety swirling inside him like a storm. The sterile walls felt suffocating, and the soft murmurs of other patients only intensified his fears. He glanced at Alina, who sat next to him, offering her hand. "Breathe, Victor," she whispered, her voice a soothing balm. "We'll all get through this, whatever happens." He nodded, trying to focus on her warm smile. Just being near her felt like a lifeline. They waited, and for a moment, it was as if time slowed down. The fear that had long been his companion threatened to return, but Victor fought against it. He had come so far, no more retreating into the shadows. As the nurse called his name, Victor stood up, his heart racing. "This is it," he said, squeezing Alina's hand tightly for comfort. "Just remember, you're not alone," she reassured him, and he took a step forward, feeling the weight of her support at his back. The doctor greeted him with a warm smile, his demeanor calm. "Good to see you, Victor. Let us take a look at those test results." Victor's heart pounded as the doctor began outlining his health complications. "You need to make some lifestyle changes, Victor, but with determination, you can turn things around." The conversation felt overwhelming, and he fought against the creeping sense of despair. But as he glanced at Alina, standing steadfastly by his side, he felt a flicker of hope reignite within him. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his voice steadying. "The good news is, it's manageable," the doctor replied. "Diet, exercise, and a few medications can help." As they left the office, Victor took a deep breath. "I can handle this," he said, more to himself than Alina. "Of course you can, you've already shown so much strength," she praised. "I'll help you every step of the way." Days turned into weeks, and Victor threw himself into a new routine. He began by cooking healthy meals, experimenting with ingredients he had never dared to use before. Alina often joined him, laughing at his culinary disasters, but encouraging him with each attempt. "Cooking is like painting," she said one evening, stirring a pot of vegetables alongside him. "It's all about blending experiences, creating something beautiful from various elements, just like life." Victor smiled, finding joy in the process. With each meal, he felt himself growing stronger, more vibrant. He began to incorporate exercise too, starting with simple walks in the park, relishing the fresh air and the warmth of the sun. One afternoon, as they strolled through the park, Alina said, "You know, I've been thinking you should share your story more. There are so many people out there who could benefit from your experiences." Victor hesitated, the familiar tightness in his chest returning. But who would want to listen to a janitor? Someone who has overcome challenges, who understands pain and resilience, she countered. "You have a voice that deserves to be heard, Victor." The seed of her idea took root in his mind, but fear held him back. What if they didn't care? What if he was met with indifference? Yet, he couldn't ignore the longing to share his journey, his truth. One evening, after a week of soul-searching, he returned home to find a letter in a mailbox from a local community center seeking stories of resilience. As he read the words, a surge of courage washed over him. "Alina," he called, pacing the living room. "I think I want to do it. I want to share my story." Her eyes lit up. "Yes, this is a wonderful opportunity." With her encouragement, Victor began writing. He poured his heart onto the pages, recounting the struggles, the pain, and ultimately the hope that had transformed his life. Each word felt like a cathartic release, a way to reclaim his narrative. "Your story is powerful," she told him during one of their late-night writing sessions. "You have the ability to inspire others, Victor." After weeks of pouring his soul into the piece, he submitted the story to the community center. As he hit send, a rush of exhilaration coursed through him. He was no longer just a janitor, he was a storyteller, a bearer of hope. Days later, he received an email inviting him to share his story at a local event. Victor stared at the screen, excitement and fear battling within him. "I can't do this," he murmured, panic rising. Alina placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Yes, you can. You've faced so much already. This is just the next step." The event approached, and as the day arrived, Victor felt his palms sweat. He stood backstage, the sounds of the audience buzzing in front of him. Just before he was to step out, Alina whispered, "Remember, you have a gift. Speak from your heart." Taking a deep breath, Victor stepped into the spotlight, the room quieting as all eyes turned to him. "Hello, everyone," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "I am Victor, and I was once just a janitor." As he spoke, weaving together his story of loss, resilience, and the power of connection, he felt the warmth of understanding radiate from the audience. Their nods and smiles fueled his courage. "I realized that life is not defined by our roles but by our ability to rise after every fall. We all have the strength to overcome." He shared Clara's memory, his struggles with loneliness, and how love emerged unexpectedly through Alina's kindness. The authenticity of his words resonated deeply with those listening. When he finished, the room erupted in applause. A woman approached him, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing your story. I've been going through a tough time, and your words gave me hope." Victor felt a profound sense of purpose wash over him. He had reached someone, perhaps many, and in doing so, had woven his pain into a tapestry of hope and strength. Days passed, and Victor found himself receiving messages from people inspired by his story. Each note fueled his spirit, reminding him that vulnerability holds immense power. He had transformed into a beacon of hope, not just for others but for himself. With Alina by his side, he continued to explore new avenues. They began a monthly storytelling session at the community center, inviting others to share their experiences. Each session revealed countless tales of resilience, laughter, and healing. One evening, as they left the center after a particularly moving session, Alina looked at him with pride. "You've created a space for connection, Victor. You've helped others find their voices." "I couldn't have done it without you," he replied, his heart swelling with gratitude. "You showed me the beauty of speaking from the soul." As time went on, Victor's life blossomed. He pursued painting fervently, expressing emotions through art. His canvases became vibrant reflections of his journey, embodying the resilience he had uncovered. One day, he received an invitation to showcase his artwork at a local gallery. A mix of disbelief and excitement flooded through him. "This is incredible," he exclaimed to Alina. "I never imagined I'd be here." "Of course, you deserve it," she beamed. Your story is intertwined with your art. People need to see both. The night of the exhibition arrived, and Victor stood nervously before his pieces, each stroke of color telling a part of his journey. As guests gathered, he shared his inspirations, his struggles, and the beauty that emerged from pain. In that moment, he looked around and saw faces filled with appreciation and understanding. The vulnerability that had once held him captive was now his greatest source of strength. As the evening wound down, Alina approached him with a smile. "You are a force of nature, Victor. You've transformed your pain into beauty." Victor beamed, understanding now that life's adversities had forged his spirit. "And I owe it all to the kindness of a stranger who stopped my car." Together, they stood side by side, two souls intertwined in a journey of hope, resilience, and the remarkable beauty of the human spirit. The future felt bright, illuminated by the connections he had fostered and the strength he had discovered within himself. And so, the janitor who once cried at work became a storyteller, an artist, and a symbol of hope for many. In this vast world, he learned that every heart has the capacity to shine, to inspire, and to uplift others. All it takes is a moment of kindness, a spark of courage, and the willingness to embrace the journey ahead. Asterisk, the janitor cried at work until a rich lady stopped his car. Part 3 asterisk. The days turned into weeks, and Victor's life transformed in ways he never thought possible. The art show had sparked something profound within him, a fire that ignited his passion and pushed him towards even greater heights. Each brushstroke felt like reclaiming a part of himself that had been lost in the shadows of grief and loneliness. Yet, as with any journey, there were still challenges to face. While Victor embraced his new identity as an artist and storyteller, old demons occasionally crept back, whispering doubts into his ear. One evening, as he painted at home, the sunlight filtering through the window casting a gentle glow on his canvas, Victor paused. He stared at the vibrant colors that danced before him, a kaleidoscope of emotions. But then, a familiar heaviness settled in his chest. "What if this is a fluke?" he murmured to himself. "What if nobody really cares?" His mind drifted back to his early days in the city, the isolation that accompanied his role as a janitor. Despite the applause and encouragement from his community, the ghost of the past lingered. "You're just a janitor. Who do you think you are?" they taunted. "Victor?" Alina's voice broke through his musings. She stepped into the room, her presence an immediate balm for his frayed nerves. "You look lost in thought." He forced a smile, gesturing towards the painting. "Just wondering if this is all a dream." Alina walked over, examining his work. "It's beautiful, Victor. You're recapturing emotion, not just colors. Trust in yourself." He sighed, his shoulders slumping. "But what if people see me differently, like I am, just playing dress up?" Her expression softened with understanding. "You've done so much already. Every person who looks at your art sees the heart behind it. They don't care about your past. They see you." He drew in a deep breath, her words wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Yet doubt still clung to him. "I just don't want to disappoint anyone." "Then don't," Alina said firmly. "Create for yourself, for the joy it brings you. The moment you try to please others, you lose the essence of your work." Victor appreciated her unwavering belief, but his insecurities were stubborn. "It's easier said than done." Alina smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Then let us practice together. I'll do a little painting of my own, and we can share our progress." With a newfound determination, Victor nodded. They spent the evening together, laughter bubbling as they painted side by side. The room filled with vibrant colors and clumsy brushstrokes, yet each imperfection felt like a step toward embracing vulnerability. Alina's presence was a comforting reminder that he was no longer alone. As the weeks passed, Victor continued to balance storytelling and painting, leading workshops at the community center. His talents flourished alongside his ability to connect with others, inspiring them to express themselves through art. One afternoon, as he prepared for a workshop, a young woman approached him, her eyes shining with both excitement and apprehension. "Victor, I've been meaning to tell you how much your story inspired me," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you," he said, genuinely touched. "It means a lot to hear that." "I've struggled with anxiety for years," she continued, "but your openness gives me courage to share my own story." Victor's heart swelled. "That's incredible. Art can be such a powerful outlet. I'd love to hear your story." Over several weeks, he witnessed the transformation of participants as they found their voices through storytelling and art. One session, he encouraged everyone to paint their fears. The room was silent except for the sound of paintbrushes moving across canvases. As Victor walked around, he saw raw emotions on display: fear, vulnerability, and eventually liberation. He paused before a canvas of a young man. The colors were dark, swirling, depicting a storm cloud looming over a small figure. "This is powerful," Victor said. "What made you choose this?" "That's me," the young man whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. "I feel trapped under the weight of my anxiety, but painting helps me breathe." Victor nodded, understanding the weight of despair. "You're not alone in this. Just like I had to face my own fears, you're getting a voice to your struggles." As the weeks continued, Victor's journey intertwined with the lives he touched. One day, Alina surprised him with a visit to the community center. "I have something for you," she said, excitement bubbling in her voice. "What is it?" Victor asked, intrigued. "An invitation to a regional art festival. They're re-showcasing emerging artists, and I think you should submit your work." His heart raced. "Me? At an art festival?" "Absolutely. Your work deserves to be seen on a larger stage," she said, her enthusiasm infectious. Victor's heart danced between excitement and fear. "But what if I am not good enough?" "Then you'll learn. It's about putting yourself out there," she replied confidently. "You can do this, Victor. Trust in your journey." That night, he sat at his desk, heart pounding as he prepared his submission. With each stroke of his pen, he poured his soul into the application, his story intertwining with his artwork a tapestry of resilience that spoke of both heartache and healing. Weeks later, the day arrived for the festival. Victor stood in front of his display, heart pounding. People wandered past, stopping to admire his work. He felt a rush of emotions, pride, anxiety, and anticipation. Alina joined him, her presence steadying. "You've come so far, Victor. Just remember, this is a celebration of your journey." Victor nodded, forcing a smile as he interacted with visitors. One man paused, studying his painting, a vibrant sunset that symbolized hope rising from despair. "This piece is beautiful. What is its story?" he asked. Victor took a deep breath, allowing the words to flow. "This sunset represents my journey through loss and grief. It is a reminder that even in darkness, there is light waiting to break through." The man's eyes softened. "That is powerful. Thank you for sharing your story." Victor felt a warmth spread within him, the realization that he was no longer just a janitor or a man lost in grief. He was a storyteller, an artist, and a vessel for hope. As the festival wound down, Alina returned with a sparkle in her eye. "Victor, you won the Audience Choice Award," she exclaimed. "Wait, what?" His voice caught in disbelief. "Were you serious?" "Absolutely. Your story resonated with so many people. You've touched their hearts," she beamed. Overwhelmed, Victor felt a surge of emotions. "I can't believe it." Tears of joy streamed down his face. "Thank you for believing in me, Alina. You believed in yourself, Victor. That is the most important part." She smiled, wrapping him in a warm embrace. The moment solidified Victor's understanding that he was no longer defined by his past. He was a man of strength, resilience, and creativity, embodying the beauty of the human spirit. And so, as the months went by, Victor's journey continued. He hosted workshops, painted to his heart's content, and shared his story with those longing for connection. More importantly, he learned to embrace vulnerability without fear. He discovered that the human spirit is not just about enduring but thriving amidst challenges. Through painting, storytelling, and the unwavering support of Alina, Victor unlocked the door to a world filled with compassion, connection, and endless possibilities. His life, once marred by sorrow, transformed into a vibrant canvas of hope. In his heart, he always remembered the kind act of a stranger who had stopped his car, igniting a journey that would change his life forever. Each day became a celebration, each brushstroke a testament to the resilience we all carry within us. And so, with every step he took, Victor became not only a beacon of hope for others, but a testament to the beauty of the human spirit. All it takes is a moment of kindness to alter the course of someone else's life, and for Victor, that moment had changed everything. Asterisk, the janitor cried at work until a rich lady stopped his car. Part 4 asterisk. As Victor stood before an audience at the regional art festival, the weight of his journey enveloped him. He could still feel the echoes of his past, the lonely janitor, scrubbing floors while watching lives unfold around him. But today, he was not that man anymore. He was an artist, a storyteller, a beacon of hope. "Thank you for being here today," Victor began, his voice trembling slightly but gaining strength as he continued. "I am Victor, and I want to share not just my art, but a piece of my heart." As he spoke, he saw familiar faces in the crowd. Alina's beaming smile, the young women who had found courage in his story, and even those from the community center workshops. Each one represented a thread in the tapestry of his life, woven together through shared experiences. I never imagined a janitor would end up here, sharing my story with you, he continued. I lost my wife to illness 5 years ago. It shattered my world, and for a long time, I let grief drown out the light. A hush fell over the room as he shared the struggle of moving forward after Clara's passing. But then I met someone, a kind stranger, who stopped my car and helped me see that my story, my pain, could be transformed into something beautiful. Victor gestured to a canvas behind him, a vivid painting of a sunset breaking through storm clouds. This painting represents that transformation. It is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we can reach for the light. As he concluded, the audience erupted in applause. Victor felt a rush of gratitude and disbelief. He was not just sharing his work, he was connecting with others, reminding them that they too could rise from their struggles. After the festival, Alina found Victor standing beside his canvas, a mix of emotions swelling within him. "You are incredible today," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with pride. "I am so proud of you." Victor chuckled, feeling the weight of her encouragement. "I still can't believe I just did that. It felt surreal." Alina softened her gaze. "You have a gift, Victor, and your story resonates with so many people. You've shown them that vulnerability is strength." Days rolled into weeks, and Victor continued to embrace his new identity. He and Alina collaborated on projects, blending storytelling and art into workshops that inspired others to express their journeys. Each session felt like a celebration of resilience, a sanctuary where people could shed their fears and share their truths. One rainy afternoon, while preparing for the next workshop, Victor received a message from a former colleague, Robert, who had been a frequent visitor at the office where Victor worked as a janitor. The message read, "Victor, I heard about your art. I'd love to meet up. Can we grab a coffee?" Victor hesitated. The old wounds of his past resurfaced. "Robert was always nice enough," he muttered to Alina, "but is he interested in me now because I am an artist?" Alina placed a reassuring hand on his back. "It could be a chance to connect. You've grown so much, Victor. Why not see where it goes?" With a mix of excitement and apprehension, Victor agreed to meet Robert. They found a small cafe tucked away on a quiet corner, the aroma of coffee blending with the rain-soaked air. Victor arrived early, his heart racing as he sat at a corner table. When Robert walked in, he had the same warm smile that Victor remembered. "Victor, it is great to see you," he said, extending a hand. "Good to see you too, Robert," Victor replied, shaking his hand, but a twinge of uncertainty lingered. As they settled into their seats, Robert leaned forward. "I've heard about your art, man. It is amazing what you've accomplished." Victor felt a mix of pride and skepticism. "Thanks, it has been a journey. I don't think I'd ever be here if it weren't for a few key people in my life." Robert nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I understand. I've been reflecting on my own life lately. Honestly, I've felt stuck for a while. Your story has been an inspiration. It made me realize that I need to confront my own challenges." Victor's heart softened. "We all have struggles. It is part of being human. What do you think is holding you back?" Robert sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I've been in a rut, just going through the motions. I lost my passion for work, and I don't know how to reclaim it." Victor leaned forward, remembering his own journey through despair. "I found that embracing vulnerability opened doors for me. It is about being honest with ourselves and others. Have you considered exploring what truly makes you happy?" Robert's eyes brightened, and for the first time, Victor saw a flicker of hope in his old colleague. "Maybe I need to take a leap of faith like he did. I've always had a passion for writing, but I've kept it hidden. I just need to let it out." Victor smiled, his heart swelling with warmth. "Then let us do it together. You could join one of my workshops. It is a safe space to express yourself." As they exchanged ideas, Victor felt a sense of connection rekindling. Soon, Robert was attending the workshops, discovering a community that embraced him. His journey towards self-discovery mirrored Victor's, reminding them both that the path to healing often involves lifting each other up. Weeks passed, and their bond deepened. One afternoon, while cleaning up after a workshop, Robert approached Victor with a proposal. "What if we co-host an event, a night of storytelling and art where we can invite others to share their journeys?" Surprised by the suggestion, Victor felt a spark of excitement. "That sounds amazing. We could create a platform for others to voice their struggles and triumphs." With Alina's support, they organized the event, pouring their hearts into preparations. They reached out to members of the community center, inviting everyone to share their experiences, their art, and their stories. The night of the event arrived, and the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. The room glowed with soft lights, and a canvas backdrop showcased Victor's vibrant paintings. Attendees filled the seats, a mix of familiar faces and newcomers, all eager to connect and share. Victor stood beside Robert, nerves fluttering in his stomach. "We can do this," Robert said, sensing Victor's apprehension. "We're recreating a space for healing." The evening unfolded beautifully, with stories woven together like a rich tapestry. Individuals shared poignant tales of loss, love, and resilience, each story resonating with the crowd. Victor's heart swelled as he listened to voices echoing his own journey, a reminder that struggles could be transformed into powerful narratives. As the event drew to a close, Victor felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. "Thank you all for sharing your stories tonight," he said, stepping forward. "Your courage inspires me. We are all connected through our experiences, and together we can lift each other up." The audience erupted into applause, and Victor's eyes glistened with emotion. In that moment, he understood the profound impact of community, how shared stories could heal, inspire, and empower. After the event, Robert approached Victor, his expression filled with awe. "Tonight was incredible. I felt a part of something bigger than myself." Victor smiled, feeling a warm glow of fulfillment. "We did this together. Your story matters just as much as mine." In the weeks that followed, the workshops thrived and the storytelling community blossomed. Victor's confidence soared as he continued to embrace his role as a facilitator of hope and connection. He found strength in sharing not just his art, but the lessons he had learned along the way. One rainy evening, as he and Alina sat in their favorite cafe, Victor looked at her with gratitude. "I wouldn't be here without you. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Alina smiled, her eyes shimmering with warmth. "You found your voice, Victor. That is a testament to your resilience. I am just grateful to witness your journey." As the rain pattered against the window, Victor felt a sense of peace envelop him. His heart, once heavy with loss, now radiated with hope. He had transformed his pain into a symphony of colors and stories, touching lives in ways he had never imagined. Reflecting on his journey, he knew the challenges would continue to arise, but he also understood the power of connection and the beauty of the human spirit. Through vulnerability and courage, he had reclaimed his narrative and created a life filled with purpose. And so, Victor embraced the future with open arms, ready to face whatever came next. He had learned that resilience isn't the absence of struggle, but the strength to rise again, to reach out, and to share love with others. In that bustling city, where dreams were chased and lives intertwined, the janitor who cried at work had transformed into an artist, a storyteller, and a beacon of hope. And he remained forever grateful to the kind stranger who had stopped his car, igniting a journey that would change his life forever. In the end, all it takes is one moment, one act of kindness to illuminate the path ahead, leading us toward a future filled with possibility. Victor understood that life is a canvas, and with every stroke, we have the opportunity to create something beautiful.